Hey everyone, Luke here, now doing the review in the middle of the night. Well, not in the middle of the night, but practically at night now, instead of in the middle of the day. But there is a reason for it, because like I said, I'm going away next week, so I won't have a chance to get out any videos properly next week. I might actually be able, because I come back on Friday, when the on Thursday, so I might be back in time to do the review on Friday again next week, like I'm doing today. But I can't guarantee any promises now, but I'm here now. We're going to be talking about chapter 152 because shit goes down in this chapter in so many ways. Okay, so like I said, this will be chapter 152, titled It's Time. Time for what? Is it time for bed? Is it time to get up? It's time to go and read a book? Not again! Leaving us on a cliffhanger like that at the beginning of the title of the chapter. It's time, like, it's time for what? It's time to stop? It's time to go? It's time to... No, I'm just kidding, guys. Of course, it's time is referencing to the fact that it's time for an era without the demons. That's probably what they're referencing here with the chapter title, that it's time for the demons to end and for the humans to thrive once again. So that's probably what the title of the chapter is probably referencing. Alright, so we pick up a little bit further into the past, where we actually have a flashback from Dawn and Gilda's perspective, where they're reading a note that says, a poison decided to make demons degenerates. Now, they possibly got this from Ashia, who gave it to them, who got that from Norman, as that was probably part of her mission, or probably they got it from Harry, like they kind of forced it out of him, and what Norman's ultimate plan was in the end to how to eradicate demons. So that's probably what they got, where they got this idea from. Okay, so it seems like they got it from Ray, because we get the flashback. We get going into more of a flashback where we see Ray just handing them the notes as he goes on in the flashback to say, Limey's group wasn't able to find any equipment that can manufacture the poison in mass quantities. Maybe they can only make some for now. Okay, so it's probably the fact that Norman gave this to Toma and Liney, and they gave it to Ray because they were probably like, I'm not so certain about this, Ray, you hold on to this. And we get the caption which says, the tragedy they fear draws near. Now, this is probably in reference to what happens at the end when Emma sees something horrifying and how it goes against what she ultimately set out to do, and it might have something to do with the promise that she made or the deal that she made with the demon god itself, and how that probably might not be able to come into fruition now that Norman has basically committed genocide against the demons. Basically, that's what the end of the chapter is, that Emma finds out exactly what Norman has done, and she's too late to actually stop it. And whether or not this actually leads to her saying to Norman, this is not what I wanted, because I made a promise with the demon god, but I had to keep the demons alive, and now we're all screwed. That's probably the route that they're going down at this point. But continuing on, they go on to discuss the idea more. Oh, okay, so they are this is in another part of town before they've actually gone off to their own designated location. So yeah, this was probably given to them from Limey, who gave it to Ray, who gave it to them. As they go on to say, if that's right, then Norman must have spread this poison for another reason, to create panic in the city. As Don questions where you would use a small amount of poison to the greatest effect in this castle city, and Songju goes, easy, must be in the town square, which as we move further along in the chapter, it shows just how big and massive the square is. And it seems like what has actually happened here is that they've Norman actually, because I believe he did say that he was going to infiltrate the water supply for the demons themselves, and that's how he was going to make the poison degenerate them over time. So they're probably getting water from the fountain, from the city fountain, and drinking that, which was causing them to degenerate through the fires of poison. As we get the title page where we see all the demons just like being either degenerate, either turning into degenerates or turning into wild, or also known as turning into wild animals, and they're chasing around all these other demons that they're just slaughtering. It's basically a bloodbath at this point on the demon side, as we see Don and Gilda and Harity looking it on in horror and despair. Harity's facial expression is the most interesting out of all of them, because, well, Don expresses horror and Gilda expresses like, oh, this is kind of like your kids to look at. Harity expresses genuine shock, like, oh my god, it's already begun, and it's probably thinking like, oh my god, it was on this scale, and wow, I never expected it to work as well as it did, but at the same time, holy shit, maybe the boss did go a bit too far, or go a bit too over the edge here in this regard, but Hatsuri made his choice and he has to stick with this, and he has to stick with this guilt to the fact that he's basically helping out wipe out an entire species. As Aishi oversees the collateral damage, and we see the remnants of the explosions that happened in the background as she rushes back to Dawn, she goes, as expected, no other place seems to be affected, and as Dawn thanks her, we get a look of shock from Harity again, going, what? Aishi can speak normally, what the heck's going on? And like they said, like it's been stated, Aishi does not tend to speak to anyone. The only persons that people that should be able to open up to are Dawn and Gilda, because obviously they want to follow in Emma's footsteps of preserving the demon life, and obviously Norman's group killed her father, her adoptive father, or basically as close to her father as she had, and why would she even want to associate herself with them after going through that traumatic experience? So maybe Harity is going to hear the story himself and maybe have a different perspective on Norman and who we can actually trust moving forward. As we see a lot more of the collateral damage and how many of the demons are actually running, that the demons that can actually run, and compared to the monstrous demons that are materializing from the de-evolving demons, Aishi goes on to say, but more of them are de-evolving. Soon there'll be nothing more we can do. And Musica's just like, right, let's go. We're gonna have to actually stop as much damage as we can actually stop at this point. And Don agrees with her, but as we'll soon see, it's gonna be too little, too late. As we cut back to the actual battle itself in the castle, in the actual royal palace with Norman's group and the Queen, and we get there, and we pick up from the end of the last chapter where we have Sassy diving in to actually slash the Queen, and Cecil going, die monster, but as Sassy goes to actually slash the Queen's face clear off, we actually see the impact of what the actual splattering of the blood was at the end of the last chapter, and it seems that what it was actually the Queen slashing what appears to be Sassy's neck, so basically slashing from here, basically up there, and slashing the paper bag off their head. So we'll actually manage to get to see what Aishi actually looks like in this chapter, which is pretty interesting, all things considered, because that's been a mystery that's been around ever since Sassy first made his appearance in the series, way back in like chapter 117, when he actually saved Emma and her group from those demons, when they actually had to go and get that medicine with Anna and Ray and Hattori, and it's been it's been not necessarily a mystery that a lot of people have thought about, but for me it's actually been like, okay, I wonder what is actually under there. Now I've obviously debunked on the idea of it being sort of like a combination between a demon and a human, sort of like the perfect combination hidden under that, which is why he kept back on his head, because he was probably afraid of how people would actually obviously react to his appearance. But we'll soon see if my theory is actually correct. And as we see the Queen just we get the sound effect, which is just like, so it's basically like, and the paper bag just gets shredded, and we see the Queen going to dive in with what little strength she has left, because obviously her claws are actually even though she basically doesn't have claws anymore, and she's still trying her very damnness to actually kill these humans for what they've actually been doing to her and her own kind. As we see Cecily just grab just chain the queen's hand up so that she can't escape. Basically like kunai with chain from Yu-Gi-Oh, like that trap card where whenever Joy would activate in the anime, one of his monsters would just actually grab another monster and just chain up. It's sort of like what's happening here with Cesar. He's just like grabbing a chain and just grabbing the queen's hand such that she can't actually move. And as the queen is looking at him with just like intense, like, I have to deal with this now. Cesar goes, "Sassy, go!" And as we get very closer to seeing Sassy's face and him just swooping down on the queen, we actually get a pretty good look at his face. And yeah, it's pretty much how I expected it to be, like a demon-human hybrid, because he has like razor-sharp teeth and he has just basically like his pupils are completely black and there's only like just the white. I can't remember what this part is, like your actual eye itself. So like the pupils around the eye socket, the eye is just completely black, and the actual eye itself is just like this white speck on him. And like I said, has monstrous teeth, sort of similar in design to Nezuko from Demon Slayer, how her eyes now are just like completely blacked out, and she has like a pink sort of like pupil area, and she has the very sharp fangs teeth, and like a bit of like deformed skin on her face. So sort of like that. If you want to compare Sassy to any recent character in any recent Shonen Jump manga, it's kind of like that, and sort of similar to that. And it's a little bit underwhelming, but at the same time, it was pretty much what I expected. And of course, because of the sheer rage of Sassy, basically he just goes like this to the queen's face, just like basically just like sawing up. So we get a beautiful, pretty much double spread of the queen, just of this actual sword, just like slicing through the queen's face. So like we get slicing through one eye, then just like slice. So that her own face is just like completely severed from her body. But as we know, just because the head is severed doesn't mean the demon can't remain conscious for a little bit longer, as we'll soon see when we actually do get a flashback for the queen, which is also pretty interesting and gives us a bit of insight into what kind of character she actually is. We start off the flashback from the queen's perspective with her going, it's what hurts the most. As we see a butterfly just floating around everywhere, and this might be symbolic of the butterfly that she actually killed when she was first introduced. How she was able to just sever that butterfly without even breaking a sweat. As we see that it actually takes place inside the demon realm, like the god realm, where the god actually can actually speak to her. And she goes on to say, "I'm stronger than all, the most beautiful of all. I reign supreme. Almost obey me. I have the blood of kings. I want to have the best meal of all." Okay, so she's basically saying to the demon god, like, look, I'm the best and I deserve the best, so give me the goods. I don't want to actually give the goods to you. I want this because I have an ego the size of this castle that my family lives in. So yeah, she's pretty vain and pretty egotistical in that regard, thinking that she's the best and therefore deserves nothing more than the best, basically the best meal that this whole demon human alliance could offer her in terms of what is actually being produced in the planetary farms. And she goes on to say, "I want better meat than the nobles and kings will have." As we get to see like what her father actually looks like from ages ago, which pretty much his whole entire face was basically covered by the same mask that her and Lewis had. But aside from that, there's something special about him, because as we see, she just kills him there and then. No regards for his feelings or any of us. So that's probably the reward that the demon god asked of her. It's like, okay, I will give you the best meat, but you have to sacrifice your father in the process. So she was like, okay, and she basically just went and did that to her father, basically just like, "Father, what?" and then before he could even react to it, or maybe he kind of knew that this was actually coming. That he kind of knew that she went and made a deal with the demon god, and she probably accepted the conditions of actually having to kill him. But we'll never know, because as soon as she kills her father, as soon as she kills her father, she's like, "I rise now as your queen. My father, my siblings, all the more food. I took the throne, but although I had almost everything in my hands, one single thing remains from my grasp." And that's when we get the big reveal, which is in fact that Norman was the prized possession that she actually wanted. I think she was pretty much observing every so maybe she's only been the queen for like basically the 2 years. That's probably been the time that she's actually being the queen herself, and she's kind of like observed Norman growing. She was probably one of the demons that was going to the plantations and thinking like, okay, this guy, this kid from Gracefield House, this one 22194. That's the meal that I desire, and I am going to get that meal. I'm not going to hand him over to the demon god, because he gets the perfect scores all the time. Absolutely no faults for him. If I could somehow harness his intelligence and what makes him so valuable, then maybe I can become like the most powerful demon in the world, basically. And she basically is, until Norman decided, yeah, I don't want you like that, so I'm going to kill you, which is basically done at this point. Even though I've said like she's still conscious, she's not going to be alive for very long. It's no secret at this point, because we've actually seen her face just being completely severed from her body. And she goes on to say, the greatest mind comes from the plantations. And the way she says this is probably even though I said that, she's probably kept an eye on Norman all this time. She probably didn't have an idea of where he was from, but when she found out from Ivor, okay, this is actually probably taking place. If I can look. Oh no, Norman is probably the same age he was when we first got the flashback of them actually going to the gate. So he's probably 4 in this flashback, and this is where Ivor probably informed her like, okay, this the greatest man comes from this plantation. She's like, what, from one of the plantations? I want that. No, she probably had no regards for that. It's like, I want that. Okay, so this probably takes place a few years ago. Like, it probably takes place 12 years ago. Like, no, Norman. Yeah, it probably takes place about like. No, Norman would be 4 and he's 13 now, so... No, 9 years ago, so she's probably only been the queen for like about, I'd say, less than 10 years. Possibly, that's probably the issue that we're facing. That she's probably only been the queen for 10 years, and now her reign is coming to an end, as we'll soon see. And continuing on, as we get the queen's eye just like... circling around, just trying to figure out what's going on. We see Norman walking in with his cloak and it's like, that's basically what the speech bubbles are saying. He's just walking in, just like strutting in. As the queen looks up at him, and we see Norman in all his glory, just staring down at the pathetic mess of a creature that the queen actually is. As Norman looks down on her and says to her, "Pleased to meet you, Your Highness," but he's probably saying that in the most sarky, cruel, egotistical way that he obviously doesn't mean it. As the Queen goes on to say, "I see, so you were the puppet master, 22194. Oh, how appetizing he is. I'm the one who sent you to Lambedy. I loathe the idea of offering you to the demon god. I want to eat you." So yeah, she probably was like, "Okay, Peter, I want you to adopt 22194, take him to Lambedy, build him up so that I can basically be my grand prize, and I can eat him, and I can basically rule the world with just so much intelligence inside me that I probably don't even need the 5 noble royal houses at this point." That was probably what her idea was before it all went south very quickly. As the Queen continues to say, "Eat you, eat you, eat you," we get her speaking in her language, but we obviously get the translations of what she's actually saying, which is, "I've always wanted to eat you so much. When I heard Lambedy was sacked and burned, I lost myself in rage. and now you are here right before my eyes. I shan't bestow you to anyone. You are my meat, mine and mine alone. But of course, the Queen is basically showing how egotistical she is, and how much of a serious bitch she is being at this point, because she's like, oh yeah, I've been slashed out, I can't move at this point, my body's degenerating, but still I'm gonna eat you. And Norman is at like, but she's basically at 5% in, if we're talking about RPGs, she's basically at 5% health when Norman is at like 100%. That's basically the statistic we are right now. But even still, she's still saying, you are mine alone to eat. I don't want anyone else to eat you, and you to eat me, and I want to eat you, and you alone. Norman goes on to say, your meat, as in like, you really think we're going to let you eat me? As we see Norman speaking in demon language. Oh, okay, so Norman has actually learned some demon language, so maybe... Oh my... If Norman actually... Oh my god, guys, I've just actually... Okay, what if Norman actually knows what Ayeshi's all about? And he still took her anyway, just kind of trying to bring her over to his side, even though she's saying in the demon language, I hate you, I want to kill you, I want to kill you. What if Norman was actually aware of this, but brought her along anyway, and she doesn't actually know that he knows that she actually hates him? Oh my god, oh my god. Yeah, because Norman is actually speaking the demon language here, so he probably overheard what Aisha was actually saying all that time, and even still took her with her, probably to try and either keep her at bay, so that keep her at bay and treat her like a pet, so that she doesn't lash out at them. Oh my god, guys! If that's the case, then Norman is seriously effed up. The fact that him as a human treated her like a pet, and like those dogs, and kept her on a leash, whereas her father treated her basically like a regular human being. Oh my god, that is dark, Norman. If that's actually the case, and Norman's like, yeah, I know what you're gonna do. I know what you're gonna do to us, but we're gonna keep tabs on you all the time, so that you do not try to kill us. And if you go against us, we'll kill you first. But we need you, because you've lived with demons and you know where weaknesses. So, oh my god. Like, seriously, guys, I've just actually thought about that, just looking at that panel, and then just thinking back on why she actually oh my god, guys, serious. Okay, so that's probably my idea now, that Norman knows what Ayeshi's all about, but still brought her with him for the sole purpose of just keeping tabs on her and basically treating her like a pet or like a servant rather than an actual human being. Wow. That is messed up, if that is actually the case. Okay, so moving on, we'll actually get back to what Nora was actually saying to the Queen in her language as we get the translation. None of us will ever be food for the likes of you again. And the Queen just looks at him with absolute horror, like, you're not going to do what I think you're going to do. And without any hesitation, he says, do it, Sassy, as Sassy just, I think, has a little bit of hesitation before actually crushing his sword down on the Queen and killing her completely. So yeah, that's the end of the Queen, and basically that's the end of all the five noble royals and the Queen herself. So yeah, not many rulers left except for one, which is Ivok. Ivok's the last demon standing, and whether or not he actually does something, or whether or not, remains to be a mystery, but we should just continue pressing on and find out exactly what that is. So like I said, Ivok's the last one, as they go, just kill Ivok and it's over. The nobles dead, the leadership destroyed, the common demons will have no other fate than extermination. It all ends now, as we get flashbacks of just basically all the sheer horror that the demons have actually put them through, and whether or not you agree with them, you can't fault the fact that they do have actual motivation for actually going through with what they've actually done, even though they're doing the complete same of what the demons have actually been doing to them, and they're basically being hypocrites at this point. But I think they'll much rather be hypocrites than just be subjugated to a life where they're just going to die. They're just going to die anyway, and be turned into food for these creatures. And it's like, yeah, I know we're being hypocrites here, but we're doing it for the greater good. But as well, it depends on how far they're actually going to go down the line in order to achieve their goal, and whether or not they're actually going to they're actually going to become less human as a result of it. That remains to be seen at this. That remains to be seen at this point. Like how far has Norman actually fallen? I mean, he has fallen pretty far, but how much further can he actually fall? And this is further evident by the fact that as Norman is thinking about the fact that Ivalic is the last one standing, he goes into his mind where he sees a younger Emma just tugging on his robe, and he sees a younger version of himself just looking up at him, basically their eyes are saying like, what happened to you, Norman? You used to be so pure and so noble, and now look at you, committing mass genocide, killing off an intelligent species. Even though he's saying it's all for the greater good and all for our survival, you're still betraying our feelings and not taking us into consideration, even though we're meant to be your close friends. And basically, it's his conscience saying like, we just want the old Norman back. We want things to go back to the way they were when you were basically one of us, and now you've kind of gone off the rails so much that we don't even know who you are anymore, and I don't think he even knows who he is anymore. He's built himself up to be this like god and savior for the humans, that he can't be seen as anything in like his happy, cheery, normal self that not only are the orphans that Gracefield used to, but were used to when we see Norman compared to where he was at the beginning of the series, and now how he is now. He's basically like a completely different person, and that's what this is actually emphasizing now. Emma and how he probably thinks that Emma is probably not liking this one bit. We cut back to see what Emma and Ray have been up to, as we see Emma just crash through like a fence and drop down with Ray, and she goes, "Don't worry, Norman, I'm coming." And she sees all the death and carnage, and she's probably thinking like, "Oh my god, please don't let it be what I think it's going to be. No, we are coming, Norman. We're going to do this. We've already remade the promise." And as Ray's going, "There, that's the door where everything is going on here." And she goes, "It's all right. You don't have to fight anymore." And she opens up the doors, and she's like, "Norman." And she gives like a cheery look of the fact like, we've reached Norman, we can actually talk to him, sensitive to him, and we can actually make sure that he actually doesn't do anything stupid. But as we soon see, Emma and Ray are just in absolute shock and horror of what Norman's actually done. They open up the doors and they just see like all the blood, death, and carnage. Basically, everyone at this point is dead. Wait a second, I've got to go back, guys. I've got to actually see this. Oh my god. I did not actually notice this I did not actually notice this at the beginning, but we see all the royal families, and we see Ivalic. I'm pretty sure it is Ivalic. Like seriously, I'm looking back out over it and just getting like a clear image in my head. Okay, so Ivalic has the horns and everything. Okay, and then he has to be okay. I've got an idea. If that's Ivalic, okay, let's go. Okay, here we are. We're back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we have the fight, we have the Queen, the royal nobles, and Ivalic. So basically, in that time, Norman just slew Ivalic. Just basically every demon now is completely dead, and it's like get the caption. His heart is unmoved, as we see again, just like the sheer horror and shock of Norman, and we see like an explosion has probably occurred. Yeah, it seems like an explosion has occurred as well. And like I said, we see the sheer look of horror on Emma's face and on Ray's face as well. It's like, we're too late. We couldn't do anything to help Norman, which is a shame, because I really would have liked Emma to have a conversation with the Demon Queen, herself, and that would have been a pretty good interaction to have. That's a theory, like what would have happened if Emma had actually met the Queen? How would that have actually gone down, and how would she have reacted to the fact that she remade the promise? It probably would have gone very well in Emma's favour. But anyway, as we see, just like sheer blood and carnage, on the floor, and we are just as shocked as Emma and Ray at this point. We get Norman going, "I'm so sorry. It's too late now, Emma." And that's where the chapter ends. So pretty good chapter, pretty awesome chapter. We got some insight into what the Queen was actually like, and we got to see the final incidents of the Queen being taken out, and now we get the confrontation that we've been waiting for, Emma and Norman. And I'm so excited for next chapter. I am legitimately excited for next chapter, because I wonder how Emma is actually going to react to properly what her next words are going to be to Norman, and whether or not Norman is going to be able to justify what he's done to her. That remains to be seen. But yeah, pretty good chapter. And like I said, it took me a while to figure out that demon where it's where he goes, it's too late now, Emma, was Ivalic. So Ivalic is dead. Basically all the demons are dead, the humans have won, but at what cost? At what cost? And that's a question we've all got to be asking ourselves this week, as Emma is just frozen in shock of like, I can't believe how far away Norman has actually gone, and whether or not she's actually going to go back to his side remains to be seen, or whether or not they can actually be friends after this point. That remains to be seen. But yeah, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And what do you think Emma's reaction is going to be? Like, what the first words are going to be out of her mouth to Norman in the next chapter? Well, that's speculation galore. Personally, it's good for me. It's going to be like, Norman, what have you done? What have you done, Norman? I can't believe I was going to make a promise, and then you just did this and turned your back on me. I don't think we could be friends anymore, Norman. And whether or not Norman agrees to this or disagrees, that remains to be seen as well. So speculation about what's going to happen next is all over the place at this point. But anyway, guys, this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.